City of New Smyrna Beach Planning and Zoning Board and Land Planning Agency for Monday, May 4th, 2026 may come to order. Please silence all cell phones. Stephanie, please call roll.
Sure. Jesse Thompson?
Here.
Terry Corbett? Here. Did I say your last name right?
Yes.
Okay, good. David McKenna?
Here.
John Causey?
Here.
Thomas Bean?
Here.
John Hall? And Steve Yates.
Here.
Okay.
City staff, do you have any changes to the agenda?
We do not have any changes, but I do want to welcome our newest board member, Teresa Corbett. She goes by Terry. This is her very first meeting.
Welcome. Welcome. So we have approval of minutes from April 6, 2026, but I hear we do have some possible changes.
Just one change that I noted during the, or at the end of the meeting, we were selecting a new vice chair for this board, and I actually was selected for that, but I realized that in the minutes I was actually voted as the new vice mayor. So I welcome that promotion and all the pay that goes with it. I'm very excited to accept that position.
Excellent.
So I think we can make that change to vice chair, not vice mayor.
For everyone's sake, let's please make that change.
Yes.
Yes.
Make sure it's changed.
Wonderful.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody want to?
Do we need to do anything with that?
You need to make a motion.
Yeah, we gotta make a
Oh,
motion.
can we have a motion to change?
So
to make that-
basically, a motion to approve the minutes with the change that Mr. McKenna has dictated, changing vice mayor to vice
Vice
chair. So we have that motion. Can we have a second?
Who was the motion? First, he
I'll
was
make
first?
the motion.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I'll second it.
All right. Vice Chair McKenna?
Yes.
Member Bean?
Yes.
Member Corbett?
Yes.
Member Causey?
Yes.
And Member Chair Yates.
Yes.
On the motion to approve the April 6, 2026 Planning and Zoning regular meeting minutes with the changes, the vote is 5 in favor, 0 opposed, the motion passes.
We will now open up public participation in accordance with resolution number 11-89. A 3-minute limitation will be imposed unless otherwise granted by the Planning and Zoning Board. This is an opportunity to address any item that is not on tonight's agenda. If anyone would like to come up and speak? If not, the public participation is closed. Moving on to old business, we have none. And we will now move on to new business. A-0004-2026 1800 Turnbull Bay Road to review an application for a variance to allow 3 electric reader message centers in the city sports complex. City staff, do you have a report?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So as shown on the location map, the property is located outside of the municipal airport along Turnbull Bay Road and Sunset Drive. The site is zoned to recreation. It contains multiple athletic fields, including a multi-use stadium, baseball fields, t-ball fields, soccer fields, and a Miracle League field. The property is located adjacent to industrial zoning and uses, with the railroad located across the street. So on this slide that was provided by the Leisure Service Department, you can see the layout of the athletic fields within the New Smyrna Beach Sports Complex. So the Leisure Services Department wishes to install up to 3 electronic message reader board signs at the sports complex. And on this side, you can see the 3 dots, which represent the approximate location of the proposed sign. One sign would be located at the entrance to the softball fields and the maintenance facility. A second sign would be located at the corner of Turnbull Bay Road and Sunset Drive. And a third sign would be located at the entrance to the stadium and the high school baseball field. So the planning department was provided with a rendition of what the proposed signs could look like. These signs would have architectural features, including a brick accent and or a cornice top. Of course, the title of the complex, the address, and then the electronic message reader board. So what's the reason for the signs? Well, the Leisure Service Director has met with the Planning Department, and he stated that the current lack of a changeable sign restricts the ability to best promote and market upcoming events, activities, and events at the sports complex for citizens to participate in. The addition of electronic marquee would also benefit the high school athletic department by helping promote attendance at the games throughout the year. The variance request directly advances the city's overall mission of providing leadership to achieve our vision in a professional and physical responsible manner in order to preserve our unique quality of life and enhance the value of where we live, work, and conduct our businesses. This potential addition of the electronic marquees at the sports complex will significantly enhance the complex as a whole. So under the current sign regulation, which is under section 604.12, paragraph G, subparagraph 8, it only allows electronic message reader centers to be located on commercial properties that are zoned B3 or B5. The B3 is a highway service business district, which is primarily found along Dixie Freeway, and B5 is a planned shopping center zoning. Also, the code prohibits this type of sign east of US 1 or Dixie Freeway, except for properties with direct frontage on US 1. And the property that this in question is actually zoned recreation. So the land development regulation requires variant requests to meet all of the following criteria. The applicant's responses are in italic, and the staff's responses to the required criteria are listed in bold. So number one, special circumstances exist which are particular to the subject owner's property's land, structure, or building, and do not generally apply to the neighboring land, structures, or buildings in the same district. The applicant's response was that the sports complex is operated by the city's Leisure Service Department. Operations at the sports complex and stadium are unique city assets, both in functionality, and the sports complex and the stadium are like no other neighboring land, structures, or buildings in the same vicinity. So the planning department's evaluation was that the special circumstances which are particular to the property is the property's function as a public service facility, example, a civic or recreation, which requires timely dissemination of information to the public, high visitor turnover, or events-driven activity that require real-time messaging to maintain a safe, orderly, and efficient operation. And we feel that this criteria has been met. Number two, strict application of the provisions of the land development regulations would deprive the subject property owner of reasonable rights commonly applicable to other properties in the same district or may preclude a benefit to the community in general. So the Leisure Service Department listed that their vision was to provide affordable recreation opportunities and to strive to enhance the quality of life of citizens and visitors through promoting health and well-being via a fun, positive, high-quality program, services, and facilities. That currently the sports complex lack of an electronic marquee is depriving the department and the complex the ability to best promote and market upcoming events, activities, and events at the sports complex for citizens to participate in. He also stated that the recreation opportunities include youth athletic leagues, including the Babe James Little League, the NFL flag football, the Pop Warner football, Southeast Volusia Soccer Club, the Mayor's Fitness Challenge, senior games, and seasonal events such as the Winter Wonderland. Additionally, the New Smyrna Beach High School Athletic utilized the complex and the stadium for their home games. These teams include, but are not limited to, the high school's football, boys and girls soccer, baseball, softball, and girls flag football programs. The addition of electronic marquee would also benefit the high school's athletic department by helping to promote attendance at these games throughout the year. Also, he listed that the variance request would directly advance the city's overall mission of providing leadership to achieve our vision in a professional and physical responsible manner in order to preserve our unique quality of life and enhance the value of where we live, work, play, and conduct business. That the potential addition of the electronic marquee at the sports complex would significantly enhance the complex as a whole. Staff's evaluation was that the requested electronic message reader signs would represent the least deviation from the code necessary to achieve the property's legitimate functional needs. The signs would remain in compliance with all other applicable sign regulations under Section 604.12 related to operation requirements, copy area size, structural characteristics, and sign location. The benefit that the public would receive would outweigh any detriment that may be claimed, and that the neighboring properties in the area are mixed industrial with no residential development on this section of Turnbull Bay Road. And we feel that this criteria has been met. Number 3, special circumstances and conditions exist that do not result from the direct or indirect actions of the present property owner, past property owner. This criteria should not be satisfied if the present or past property owners created to any degree the hardship that is the subject of the variance request. So the applicant's response was that the city and sports complex have not acted in any capacity to create the uniqueness of the sports complex and stadium, that the city and sports complex have and will continue to act in good faith in regard to all criteria related to the requested variance. The staff's response was that the need for electronic reader sign variance arises from inherent characteristics of the property and its operational demands. Public serving operational requirements, include emergency messaging, have evolved over time, and we feel that this criteria has been met. Number 4, that granting this variance would not cause substantial detriment to the public welfare or impair the purposes and intent of the ordinance. The applicant's response was that no substantial detriment or impairment to public welfare will be created by granting the variance, and the installation of all the marquees would adhere to any and all setbacks required. Staff's response was the need for the electronic message center variance as designed would not be detrimental to the surrounding properties or the public's well-being. Also, these signs will enhance communication, safety messaging, and public awareness, particularly important for facilities hosting youth events, public events, or time-sensitive operations. We feel that this criteria has been met. And finally, number 5, the grant of the variance would not constitute a grant of special privilege that's denied by the land development regulations. The applicant's response was that granting the variance would not constitute a grant of special privilege denied to any other land, structure, or building in the same district, that the approval of the variance would allow the sports complex to be afforded appropriate promotion, opportunity, and the ability to continue to best meet the city and department's mission and their vision. There are no structures, buildings, residents, business, et cetera, that would be negatively impacted by the installation and operation of the electronic marquee at the sports complex. So staff's response is, although the electric message center sign requires a variance outside of the B3 and the B5 zoning districts, this proposal upholds the broader purpose of the city's land development regulations by supporting enhancing the public's ability to receive timely, relevant information consistent with the city's planning objectives. The sign would improve the public engagement and communication while respecting regulatory restraints aiming at minimizing visual clutter. We feel that this criteria has been met. So the proposed electronic message center signs satisfy all variance criteria required by the land development regulations. The request is supported by the unique property circumstances and is not self-created. The request represents the minimum relief necessary and does not harm surrounding properties. The Planning Department recommends the Planning and Zoning Board to approve the requested variance to allow the 3 electronic message center ground signs to be located at the sports complex that's on property that is not zoned B3 or B5. The Leisure Service Director, Rob Salazar, is here tonight to answer any questions from the board, and that's a summary of the staff report, except any questions the board members may have.
Thank you, Bob. Any questions by the board for Bob? Would the applicant like to come up and say anything?
Thank you, Chair Yates, for the opportunity to speak. My name is Rob Salazar. I'm the Leisure Services Director with the city. Thank you to Bob for the presentation, as well for representing us on recommending approval. These electronic marquees would allow my department and my team to better promote the activities the city's got going on, as well as the activities that the high school participates in at the complex. Recently, we've also done some rebranding with our soccer club. It's now Shark Coast instead of Southeast Volusia Soccer Club. We're also in the process of getting a collegiate baseball team to play summer home games at the complex. So there's a lot of activity going on that we'd like to highlight and make more visible to the community. And these marquees would allow us to maximize our potential. And thank you for the consideration of the variance this evening.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
If this variance is approved, and these reader boards are put in place, are the existing identification signs going to be removed?
Yes, sir. These would replace the existing.
Okay.
Question or two. Do you think 3 signs will be enough with all the activity that you've got going on?
I believe so. We try to strategically place the signs at the intersections and the pull-ins to the complex that would be the most appropriate. We also didn't want to do overkill with the signs. So in discussion with the planning department, we landed on 3. And it would be a staged approach. They would not all go in at one time. It would be budgeted over multiple years in the city's budget to fund the signs.
Thank you. Public participation is now open. A 3-minute limitation will be imposed unless otherwise granted by the Planning and Zoning Board. Anybody from the public like to speak on this issue? If not, public participation is closed. City staff, you have any other further comments? I don't think so. Discussion or questions among the board?
I think it's a great idea. Yeah, communicate with people, make it succinct, and let people know what's going on. It's fantastic.
Yeah, there's a lot of different events that go on at that complex to have some visualization for everyone.
Absolutely.
It'd be great. So, okay.
Also gives the city the opportunity to set the gold standard for how electronic signs should be managed going forward, not only for the city, but for the entities needing those in the future, because they
The
are
community at large, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely,
they are the
John.
future.
Yeah.
Excellent. Then do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the requested variance to allow electronic reader board monument sign at the city sports complex.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Stephanie, roll, please.
All right, Member Causey,
Yes.
Member Corbett,
Yes.
Vice Chair McKenna,
Yes.
Member Bean,
Yes.
and Chair Yates.
Yes.
On the motion to approve V-4-26, 1800 Turnbull Bay Road as submitted, the vote is 5 in favor, 0 opposed, the motion passes.
Thank you. We now move on to SE 0002-2026, 1313 North Dixie Freeway. Conduct a review and give a recommendation to the City Commission for a special exception use for an existing automotive sales business to expand their operation. City staff, do you have a report?
Yes, we do. We have applicant Chris Casey, representing property owner Todd and Kristen Westfall. This property is zone B3, Highway Service Business District. Future land use is commercial, lot size 1.01 acres, and the business is Park Avenue Motors. Here's a little reference for you here, the vicinity map, kind of Catter Corner, you have the city airport. It's immediately south of Industrial Park Drive, but on the east side of the road. Now, why a special exception for an existing business? I know you guys have seen some for new businesses that are trying to open up. Well, the LDR, as any building use which is allowed at a location by special exception approval, may be added on to without any special exception approval, provided the addition or additions comprise less than 20% of the floor area of the building as of the effective date of this ordinance, or the addition is no greater than 1,500 square feet. Well, it is bigger than 1,500 square feet, so we're here for a special exception approval. So what is proposed? The proposed improvements include a new 3,900 square foot building in the northeast corner of the parcel, and the existing building along US 1 is being expanded from its original size of 813 square feet to 1,747. There's also a 3,157 square foot building that is remaining in its current configuration, and a portion of a building, 1,874 square feet of building is being removed. All told, there will be 8,804 square feet of building on the parcel, which is a 50.6% increase, so it's above that threshold, which requires the need for a special exception. This is kind of the situation now. This is looking north. Right now, it's there's some gravel there. There are parked cars kind of spread around. This is the view from Google Maps of the street. This is probably, I think it's November. Kind of gives you a view of how it looks right now. And this is their conceptual plan that they provided us right here. Definitely cleans up the appearance of it. There'll be landscaping along the front. It'll be paved. One thing I should note, there was a requirement for landscaping on the sides too. So it's going to dramatically clean up the appearance of the facility. And then here's just a quick kind of a show on the fire truck going through, but the layout of the site plan. The property actually goes east of where it's paved off into the wetlands, but it's got a barricade keeping it separate. There are criteria that have to be met specific to the B3. Windows have to maintain a minimum transparency area of 65%, and you can't have a bunch of signs covering everything. They've agreed to meet that requirement. Sales display area is required to provide a lighting plan. They don't really plan on being open at a point in time where that would require a lighting plan, so there won't be lighting going in there at night besides maybe some bollards so you can see walking around. There is no temporary parking lot being proposed. Site plan has to meet the city requirements of the LDR. That's acknowledged. That's kind of the process that they're going through right now with this is, going through all the engineering and the stormwater and utilities, and we're all reviewing it right now, but we have to get through this step, which is simply the approval of the use so they can move forward. And then, like I said, all the other LDR regulations. And then there are also 3 criteria that go for all special exceptions, and requested use is among the special exception uses in the district. It is. The requested use will not impair the character of the surrounding or adjoining district, nor be detrimental to public health, morals, or welfare. Again, it's being refurbished, new buildings and landscaping being added. I think it's going to be a dramatic improvement to the appearance of the property. And adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, sanitation, and or other necessary services and facilities are or will be available or provided for proposed use. Again, it's already functioning as this use. Everything is there that they need. There's adequate utilities, roads, drainage, and they're going to meet our current standards. It's been like this for 45 years now, so it's been brought up to the current regulations that are in place. So based on that, we recommend the Planning and Zoning Board recommend the City Commission approve the special exception. Any questions for me?
I believe you said it was 8,800 square feet is going to be the final product?
Yes.
If this was an empty lot and somebody came in and asked for a special exception to build auto service, would the proposed layout and specifically the 8,800 square feet meet all the city LDR requirements?
Yes, they could go up to 35% of the lot coverage, so they could probably go another 5,000 or 6,000 square feet of building on the site than they are going for.
And the setbacks would be in accordance with the current regulations?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It looks like 2 of their display areas, so to speak, where the cars are parked are now rock or gravel.
Yes.
So I guess the fact that that permeable area will be going away will be all taken in consideration with the final site plan.
Yeah, they actually are allowed an impervious percentage, 75 or 80%, and they're well below that. So, and the applicant's here if you have any questions or anything else for me.
Would the applicant like to come up?
Good evening, everybody. Chris Casey's on engineering, engineer of record. Jake, I appreciate the review of the site and the presentation. It was very thorough. I'm just here to answer any questions that you guys may have.
The renderings look very nice. Are you willing to work, and the applicant willing to work with the city if the city were to impose some restrictions on the exterior to, I guess, fit with their vision of that section of the town?
I'm going to leave that one on up to the owner.
Because, you know, right now, some of our areas are all hodgepodge, even the brand-new stuff. There doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason, in my opinion, as to the architecture or the theme that we're trying to put throughout the city. And I think it's a shame that, obviously, your clients are in it for the long haul, and we appreciate that. And you're certainly upgrading that area tremendously. But I think we have an opportunity for the work with the city, and the city also help define the vision for how we want our different sections to look. I think it's time that we do that.
So I think we have to see a little bit more in detail what you mean by that, but I don't think we would write that off as a possibility. Working with the city is generally the best way of going about these things. I think we've worked pretty well with the city thus far.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if we have any guidelines to even go by up there. Do we have anything?
At this time, the code doesn't have any design guidelines at this point, so that's something that they
But
could look
that's-
at, but, oh, Jake might have more to say.
No, you can't have the raw kind of corrugated metal exterior of buildings. So when we're upgrading it, you're not going to have that. And there are general kind of color schemes and stuff like that that are required.
Sure.
Right, and my comments honestly are as much towards the city
Yeah.
as needing to, again, personal opinion, to define what we want the city to look like. And as we build up areas and we have our clients or citizens, businesses are willing to work with us, it's time to change.
Yeah, I agree with John. I think that kind of some of this comes out of our meeting last month, where we're,
Sorry, I don't really want to interrupt you, but I'm going to, is like, that may be something that we could discuss at the end of the meeting, but for this and the special exception,
Yeah.
just
Okay.
maybe discuss what the motion would be, and then at the end of the meeting, you could bring up this
Sure.
as an
Very
example,
good.
and that would be a great time to discuss that.
Okay.
We'll stick with
That's
what
fair,
was
Shay.
presented to us this
Thank
evening. And that is to say, it looks like a nice upgrade to what is now a used car lot with some cars up front. And I think there's not a lot of businesses up there. It's right by the airport. I think it's a nice upgrade.
I appreciate that.
Sure. Okay, public participation is now open. If anyone would like to speak? If not, public participation is closed. City staff, any other further comments? Discussion among the board?
I'll save it to the end of the meeting.
Okay. So do I have a motion to recommend?
Regarding item 5B, SC-02-26, I make a motion to recommend the city commission approve the requested special exception at 1313 North Dixie Highway.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please. Stephanie?
Member Bean?
Yes.
Vice Chair McKenna?
Yes.
Member Corbett?
Yes.
Member Causey?
Yes,
And Chair Yates.
Yes.
On the motion, recommend approval for SE-2-26, 1313 North Dixie Freeway. As submitted, the vote is 5 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes.
Thank you. Now move on to V-0005-2026, 2503 Norman Avenue. Review an application for a variance to allow an existing detached accessory structure to be less than the required building setbacks on a property located at 2503 Nordman Avenue. City staff, do you have a report?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So as shown on the location map, the property is located on the east side of Norman Avenue, just north of South Street. The parcel is zoned R2, single-family residential, and it contains approximately 0.29 plus or minus acres of land. The parcel also contains a single-family house with accessory structures. The property is located adjacent to other residential properties that also contain accessory structures. So the property owner is requesting an existing accessory structure to be located less than the required 5 feet from another structure and less than 7.5 feet from the side property line. A survey of the property was provided by the property owner, and as you can see on this slide, the accessory structure has been drawn to show the approximate location of the building. And this slide shows the engineered plan of the accessory structure. Engineering plans are required by the building department to verify that the structure meets the Florida building codes. So the planning department has supplied a site photo, and in this photo you can see the single-family house and the existing detached accessory structure. They're located on the right. So the current land development regulation codes as it pertains to building coverage, building height, and building setbacks. And while the accessory structure does meet the building coverage and the building height, the structure does not meet the building setbacks. The R2 zoning requires most structures to be at least 7.5 feet from the side or rear property line. There are some reductions to the building setbacks for patios, open porches, and sheds under 200 square feet. Also under section 803.01, accessory structures have to be at least 5 feet from another building or from any other building. So with that, the land development regulations require variances requests to meet all of the criteria following. The applicant responses are in italic, and staff responses to the required criteria are listed in bold. So number one is the special circumstances exist which are particular to the subject property owner's land, structure, or building, and do not generally apply to the neighboring land, structures, or buildings in the same district or vicinity. The applicant's response is that they respectfully submit the request for a variance regarding the placement of their outbuilding in relation to their primary residence. And during the recent review of the property and applicable setback requirements, it was brought to their attention the structure is positioned approximately 6 inches closer to the primary dwelling than the current zoning regulations permit. So the staff's evaluation was that there was not a special circumstance particular to the subject's property, that the current parcel size is 100 foot by 135 feet, which meets the R2 zoning district, which requires a minimum of 75 feet by 115 feet. The land development regulation under section 803.01 that regulates accessory structures require compliance with all dimensional, separation, and height standards. The structure fails to meet the required minimum separation from the prior structure and the side yard setback. Staff's evaluation was that it did not meet this criteria. Criteria number two is a strict application of the provisions of the land development regulations would deprive the subject property owner of reasonable rights commonly applicable to other properties in the same district or may preclude a benefit to the community in general. The applicant's response was that the encroachment is minimal in nature and does not materially impact safety, accessibility, or the intent purpose of the setback requirements. Staff's evaluation was the property owner did have other options for the location of the building, that the property does have adequate space to relocate the building. If a permit was applied for prior to the constructing the building, the contractor and the property owner at that time would have been notified that the building would not fit next to the single-family house, so staff feels that this criteria may have not been met. Criteria number three, special circumstances and conditions exist that do not result from the direct or indirect actions of the present property owner or past property owner. This criteria should not be satisfied if the present or past property owner created to any degree the hardship that the subject of the variance request. The applicant's response was that the outbuilding was constructed in good faith with the intention of complying fully with all applicable building codes and local ordinances, that the 6-inch deviation was unintentional and only identified after the structure had been completed. Staff's response was that the hardship resulted from construction of an accessory structure without a permit, which wouldn't constitute grounds for variance approval. So we feel that this criteria had not been met. Number four, that granting the variance would not cause substantial detriment to the public welfare or impose the purpose and the intent of the ordinance. The applicant's response was due to the extremely minor nature of the variance requested, that the structure does not interfere with the neighboring properties, their access, drainage, utilities, or emergency services, and that furthermore, the location of the outbuilding maintains the spirit and overall intent of the zoning regulations by preserving appropriate spaces between structures. Staff's evaluation was that while the variance request may not cause substantial detriment to the public welfare or affect your neighboring properties, building separations between two structures that may have separate occupancies, like a single-family house, a garage, a shed, or storage building, would help to create a fire-resistant separation. In this case, the single-family house is constructed of block, and the accessory structure is constructed out of metal. So we feel that this criteria had partially been met. And then finally, number 5, that the grant of the variance would not constitute a grant of special privilege that's denied by the land development regulations. The applicant's response to the criteria was that granting the variance would allow the existing structure to remain as constructed without requiring unnecessary modifications or reconstruction. So the staff's evaluation was that each property owner within the city can apply for relief in the form of a variance to the land development regulations if that property owner feels that they can meet the criteria for obtaining a variance. We feel that this criteria had been met. So in conclusion, the property owner may have been taken advantage of by a contractor that did not obtain the required building permits, and the city review of the proposed site and location of this accessory structure. The planning department has evaluated the variance based on the 5 criteria that's required, and solely based on those criteria, the planning department cannot recommend approval for the variance application. The property owner is here tonight to answer any questions from the board, and that's a summary of the staff report, subject to any questions that board members may have.
Thank you, Bob. Any questions?
What's the adjacent building used for?
Well, it's a shed or storage or garage type building. I'll probably let the applicant answer what their proposed use is for the building.
Yeah.
If nothing particular for staff, we'll just have the participant come up. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Bob. Applicant, come on up. Thank you.
My name is James Allen. I'm one of the property owners. This is my wife, Deborah.
Could you
Please
speak a
speak
little
yep,
into
go
the
ahead,
microphone?
Yep.
Sorry.
It's okay.
My name is James Allen. I'm one of the property owners, and this is my wife, Deborah.
Okay.
So what do you folks use that adjacent building for?
It's mainly a hobby shop. We actually have 2 Jeeps that we store inside of it, motorcycles. I actually do some blacksmithing out of it. Also have a small machine shop in there, just minor stuff, basically a hobby mechanic shop.
When was the structure built?
Approximately,
I'm sorry?
no. When was this one built?
The shop,
Yes.
either late 2013 or early 2014. I don't remember.
No, this one was built in 2022. It's
Oh,
been since
I'm sorry.
we got together.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm a
This
little
one was
nervous.
That's
approximately
okay.
2022. It's been
It's
there
okay.
for a little bit.
Yeah, so 2022, 2023 it was
Okay.
built. I'm sorry, I'm very nervous.
It's okay.
It's fine. It's fine.
The contractor,
The original contractor, he actually told us he would take care of all of the permitting and everything else. We had no clue of any of this. He said everything was taken care of. Honestly, he has proven to be a very extremely shady character, because once we gave him the money for said building, he had another subcontractor come out to do concrete, and then another contractor come out to do this, and another to do that. He'd taken all the money, and then no building. 3 months goes by, he finally comes, the company comes out and puts in a building, and then they call us. It was evidently he was selling the building for another company. The initial company calls us telling us that we still owe $6,000 on said building, because the original guy, the salesman, said that he was knocking $6,000 off the price because we had to wait an additional 3 to 4 months for said building. And yeah, it's just been a terrible experience all the way around. And now we're hit with, we're 6 inches too close to the house.
Financially, if we have to move this building, it would be a great hardship. Neither one of us is currently working. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Was your contract with this contractor for a lump sum that he supplied the building, all the parts and all the work, or did you buy the building, metal building, yourself, and he was only going to erect it?
He supplied everything.
He was supplied everything. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the size of the building?
20 by 30?
20 by 30?
Yes.
Okay. On one of the exhibits, which was part of the building plans, reference this, and it's part of the plans that the engineer, somebody in handwriting wrote on the bottom, building is 7.5 foot off property line with 5 feet between house and building. Who did that writing, do you know?
That came on the plans that we got. When we were notified that a permit was needed, we went and got the structural drawings, and that was written on there.
That was already on there? So
That was not written
the
by us.
engineer or the contractor or somebody other than yourselves?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay.
Real quick, before I'm going to interrupt you, you just speak right in the mic.
I'm
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
I just got to record you, so thank you.
Yes, sir. That was provided by the building manufacturer who erected the building. That was
Okay.
not written by us.
Have you, just curious, as the contractor in your mind, at this point in time, other than this issue, satisfied everything for your building?
Aside from it.
Aside from this issue, I mean, has he given you what you thought you were getting?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
How was this brought up to us tonight?
Code enforcement.
Okay. And was that because neighbors complained, or do we know?
I don't know.
Have you spoken to the
Usually-
neighbors?
Usually it is a known complainant.
Have you had any of your neighbors complain to you
No,
about
sir,
where
none
the
of the
building
neighbors have
sits?
issue with it. They have issue with us parking our vehicles on the yard because we haven't put anything in the building because we were afraid it was gonna get torn down. So they have issues with where our vehicles are parked, and we explained to them that that's what the shed is for. That was the original complaint that we were notified of, that we had too many vehicles in the front yard.
So you're gonna use the shed for
We have
a
2 Jeeps.
garage?
Yes, sir.
For your
To
Jeeps.
store our 2 Jeeps.
Gotcha, okay.
One of the concerns, certainly with the separation of an accessory building from a main residential building, is safety. And it was pointed out that it's a block wall for that side of your house. Are there
Yes.
any windows in that wall?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then actually, when we were hit with all of this, we actually paused everything. We still have to put crushed gravel in between the house and this structure, and French drains for erosion control. But we put a hold on all of that because we don't want to invest more money in it if we're just going to have to tear it all out.
Any other questions by the board?
No questions, but I just think this is a horrible thing that happened.
Have you reported the contractor to the
Yes, sir.
Better Business Bureau
We
or the
also-
police?
Yes,
Or-
sir. We reported him to the Better Business Bureau. We've tried multiple times to get in touch with him because we are out the money that it costs for the after-effect permit, this hearing. He's not returned any of our calls. We don't even know if he's in business anymore. He was somewhere in DeLeon Springs. And when we've driven by there, it looks like there's nobody there anymore.
Is there any way to modify the building to come within that 6 inches?
No, ma'am.
No.
I believe staff indicated it could be moved.
Right.
But the moving would be from a financial standpoint.
And when you take variance into consideration, financial hardship is not something you take into
Understood.
consideration.
But that would be for them personally.
Yes, yes, but on the board, that's not an element to be.
I agree, I understand.
Yeah.
Any more questions from the board? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mathan, would you mind just clarifying what the variance requests are?
So just to get some information on some of the questions that came up. So the structure has been there for a few years. Code compliance did cite them for having vehicles in their front yard. That was the initial stop. And because of that, they noticed at this garage, they noticed there was not a permit for it, so they got cited for the building. So the building has been there for a couple of years, you know, and staff understands their situation, but you also have to understand staff's position based on criteria. So my hands are kind of tied when it comes to criteria for evaluation. They have applied for the building permit. They have charged double the fee for that permit. They've also, you know, had to pay for this application fee to come before you tonight. But the reason why they're here for you tonight, this is a secondary thing of a code enforcement visit to their home.
Sure.
Which originally was for cars being parked in the front yard.
Understood. Thank you for clarification.
And,
Could you just clarify what the variance request is for?
so when we went out there, we measured from the house between the two structures. We also measured the side of the structure to the fence, and then we can look and see where the fence was based on that survey. So when we measured, they were actually 46.5 inches between the house and the structure, which was 3.87 feet. And they were 75 inches from the side property line, which would be 6.25 feet. And so they're supposed to be 7.5 from the side and 5 from the house. So they're kind of close on both directions. We did do an actual measurement. I did include that in the staff report. But that's why we listed for two different variances, because when we did a site visit, we noticed they were less than 7.5. So we included that in the request for them as well.
So where's the 6 inches come into play then?
I think that's what they were told initially, that they were 6 inches too close based on the plan that they submitted to the building department. But I went out and did the actual site visit and measured and came up with the exact number.
So it's really more like 1.5 feet, a 1.25 feet between the properties, or between the structures.
Yeah, so
There's two variances, one
right,
from
so
the,
right, so we're looking at two requests, because if they get a variance, we want it to be in compliance so they can get their permit, because their permit is sitting in the the building department currently. So we measured 46.5 inches, which was 3.8 feet, and they're supposed to be 5 feet, so just a little over a foot. And then they're 6.25 feet from the side property line based on the location of the fence.
That's supposed to be 7.5?
Yeah, it's supposed to be 7.5. Yeah, once you hit 200 square feet or larger, you don't get the reduced setback of 5 feet.
Now, if this variance is a request, it puts the outline of a building in this position and says it's cool. If somebody came in without this building being built, what kind of site plan review would it have triggered?
So because it's residential, it's considered a Class 1 site plan, and that's reviewed by the building department and their zoning technicians, which is actually pretty much what they submitted, which is normally a survey. You draw in the location of where it's going to be, and then you submit your engineered plans from an engineer showing that the building would meet the building code structurally.
and Mr. Mathan, most likely you would have pointed out the location would have been inappropriate and pointed a different location.
Correct. If their contractor would have applied for a permit, the zoning tech would have had comments on the application and said you're too close to the house and you're too close to the property line. You'd have to either shrink the building or relocate it to a different place.
Now, other than location, I'm concerned now if this became legal in a location and a permit is applied for, does the building department then go out and inspect it? And should there be any problems with the building or whatever?
Right. So right now, they were denied their building permit because of setbacks, which brought it to us, which now is being brought to you. So if the variances are approved, then the zoning tech would establish what the setback is based on the staff report, and they would approve the location for that building based on that variance.
And then, Mr. Mathan, someone would go out and certify the building as permitted?
Correct.
Like, make sure it complied with building standards.
Correct. They would also have a plan reviewer that reviews the engineer plans, make sure they meet the Florida Building Code. And then there would be a final inspection set up scheduled for them to come out and visit the property to close the permit out.
So if they were ever to sell the property with it being approved, that wouldn't impact the sale of the property for
If they're granted a
future-
variance, it becomes a conforming structure by variance. So that variance stays with the land. So if they sold this property, that variance would stay with the land. It would move to the next property owner.
Okay.
Can you help me with your line of questioning? If you were trying to
I'm
get at something?
just concerned that we're now saying that this building in its location is fine. But if they went in for a building permit, there'd be all different kinds of reviews, site plan reviews, maybe stormwater, I don't know what. But I want to make sure that those things are finalized and reviewed.
Those are still required.
Are still required.
Correct.
You know, at some point in time.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's just the variance of the size, but everything else within the building would be required to
Right,
get
and then
fully
it still is
permitted.
inspected in the process of that
Understood.
and so forth. So if unfortunately they find out that the contractor chinched on material somewhere, that's a completely different issue that they would still have with the contractor.
Yes, so the permit's been reviewed by the zoning department and the building department. That's why it got denied. It has to be reviewed by their plan reviewer for the building code, which they basically look at the plan to make sure it's got the right code number on there and that the engineer stamp is a valid stamp. And then you're going to have your city engineering department, they review the stormwater and to see if it's exempt for a stormwater plan, or are they going to have to provide some type of swell or something for the roof line based on the square footage of the building compared to the overall square footage of all the
Right.
buildings on the property.
Right.
So it'd be
that's all-
evaluated by 3 different people.
That was my concern, that all those things still occur.
Yes. It's just in a holding pattern right now.
Right.
Understood. Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. Ladies.
So just as a reminder, you guys are here on a variance with set criteria. In order to approve the criteria, they must meet all 5 of the criteria, and financial hardship is not something to be considered.
Understood.
You can discuss based on that.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I would make a motion to approve the requested variance to allow reduced setbacks for the detached garage at 2503 Nordman Avenue.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Stephanie, roll vote, please.
Vice Chair McKenna.
Yes.
Member Bean.
Yes.
Member Corbett.
Yes.
Member Causey.
No.
And Chair Gates.
No.
On the motion to approve the variance, V-5-262503 Norman Avenue, as submitted, the vote is 3 in favor, 2 opposed, the motion passes.
That was all.
This is when you would do your discussion.
So where we were going earlier, I think Thomas from last month's meeting, and we were talking about the presentation of the infill build-out at Myrtle and 44. You know, we kind of discussed the idea of having some sort of a workshop to talk about how things look and feel from, or maybe it was you, John, that made the comment, sorry.
That's all right.
You know, I completely concur with that. I mean, I looked at that potential site plan that they shared with us tonight for this car lot. And I mean, when you drive up US 1 and you see the hodgepodge of buildings and how everything looks, at least they're presenting something that is clean, professionally done, but you know, the next person that comes along, it might be completely different. And it would be great to have some consistency from a site plan standpoint, so that we do have a standard that's identified and being met on a regular basis. What they presented looked great, but is that what we want going forward across the board? I don't know. But now it's like willy-nilly, whatever gets approved.
We have discussed previously about a workshop to discuss not only things like that, but a vision for the city and possibilities of what the entire city plan is to look like. Meeting last month was a vigorous discussion about some progress that we want to have, and I don't think that we have an established vision for the city, and it starts there versus arguments when things have been approved to go ahead and move forward, and us not liking a particular project. That's not really the idea for discussion. The idea is that the city has a vision, and that that progress is open to the public for them to understand.
Well,
so I think that falls in line with those type of things.
It absolutely does, because, you know, personal taste is irrelevant. It's what we look at or help identify as being what is visually, aesthetically consistent for the city.
Density.
All that.
All these variables, I think we need to have a workshop to discuss what we want to do, so we can start moving so that.
I agree that a workshop would be very helpful, I think, for everyone in just moving the city forward. But exactly, you hit on a point that beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And what somebody thinks is good looking or is the vision, very tough. I mean, a personal story back when I first moved here, I took a ride to the Villages. The Villages is perfect, too perfect. It was just, every flower was in the right spot and every curb was exactly with the mailbox and so forth. And it turned me off as a vision. One of the things we have here, I think, in this community is, like it or not, it's developed over a large number of years, and there's a lot of different things. Having worked on, you know, exactly what we're talking about, you can make things into a city vision that there shall be no corrugated metal siding, for example. But it's awful hard to say it should be a Victorian style.
Of course.
You know, and it's a real slippery slope.
Yep.
That's on. But a workshop, I think, is great to talk about it.
I think the communication was a big part, that we have an open level of communication and vision of the city more than the vision of really drawing it down to a particular style, but just a conversation with the citizens to say, this is what we're charged to do, to vote on certain agendas, and we're limited by law, and that now is our time to discuss what we want the vision to be.
Well, yeah, so where it gets dicey, and this has come up in the past, is where, you know, certain areas of the city are identified as being historic districts or that sort of thing. And then all of a sudden, you know, then we start infringing on property rights. And that becomes tremendously problematic. And so it's almost where we would have to step back and say, okay, we're not going to necessarily worry about residential property per se, but the commercial piece. Or we identify sections of the town, like US 1, from basically Canal Street north to the airport, you know, where we say, if there's going to be businesses that come into that area, it's just an example, you know, there is a certain standard that has to be met, right? Where we allow people still to thrive and have business and bring the business to town, but we want them to adhere to certain standards. When we start branching off of that and into, you know, telling property homeowners, hey, this is what you can do and you can't do, because we've identified an area of town as being a certain district, that's where I think the slippery slope really.
Well, the slippery slope too. I mean, just take any commercial national company, they're going to want their prototype.
They are.
That's a big deal, and they got the money to fight it.
Yeah.
But they also have the money to do something different if it's required. Look at this, and I use it all the time. Look at the 7-Eleven over there where Panera Bread is. That doesn't look like a typical 7-Eleven. But Panera Bread looks, whether you're going from here or California, is probably going to look the same, but that's because we allowed it. And if we don't care about how the image of our city, then that's a whole nother story. That's a conscious decision. We just live with it. But you move into downtown, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, the historical districts downtown is
Or-
totally different,
or-
I think.
Or the beach side.
Well, we'll work with staff to
So-
come up
Yeah.
with.
And all
some
I'm
ability
saying
to-
is, it's not us to decide.
No, no.
It's the city to provide the vision to us and the developers. And Ms. McCurdy said it very well, financial hardship. You know, we have styrofoam monuments in my neighborhood because it was cheaper to build at the time.
Where do you live?
Venetian Bay.
Oh, okay.
And
They're stuccoed.
You're stuck on
yeah,
Ethos.
there's styrofoam monuments. And you know how I found out? When we had a car wreck.
Yeah.
We didn't, but there was a car ran into
Somebody ran
one.
into one.
And I went over and looked at it. I said, what the heck is this?
Safety issue.
And I was told by previous city manager that, yeah, it was cheaper to build with, and that was accepted.
And they'll float.
Pardon?
They'll float.
Yeah, true. I didn't think about that.
Well, thank you, everyone. Reports or communication by the staff?
Sure. I just want to remind you guys that this Thursday at 5:30 in this commission chamber, we do have our comp plan workshop. I think I mentioned it to you guys previously, but that will be here, and you guys are more than welcome and encouraged to attend.
What was the time again?
5:30.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
And we'll just be reviewing with our consultants, basically what they presented to you guys and any updates that they've made since then, and just basic overall introduction and more information gathering.
Thank you. We are adjourned. Thanks.